Hi Homeworthy, my name is Hannah. Welcome to my home in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello Homeworthy, my name is Hannah Hemmerly and welcome to my apartment in Clinton Hill, Brooklyn. I actually grew up in Brooklyn. This is what I like to call my dad's divorcee apartment that I now live in. I grew up both in Clinton Hill with my father and in Boerum Hill with my mom. Both of my parents are architects, so an awareness to the infrastructure of New York City has always been a very present influence in my life. And that kind of led me to my career in design as well. I'm obsessed with Clinton Hill. I have always loved Brooklyn and it's been a huge part of my identity having grown up here. I did go to Minnesota for college, so that was a very different experience. And I miss New York so much, I came right back. I really can't imagine living anywhere else. It's just the community, the tree-lined streets, the brownstones. Brooklyn has this sense of community and warmth that it is hard to find anywhere else. New York can feel very overwhelming sometimes, and the hustle and bustle can be a lot. Even though I'm very used to it, having grown up here, I so appreciate coming home at the end of the day to tree-lined streets and brownstones and just families going on walks before dinner. It's very quaint and friendly. I find Brooklyn to be kind of the most European-esque United States location. So when we walk through the entryway, we come straight into the bar area. This is a Etsy poster that my boyfriend got. He loves Negronis, it's his favorite drink. This light actually was from my childhood bedroom. My mom got it for me when I was 12. I just wanted it as a reading nook light, and for some reason I've kept it all this time, and I've strung it up here on hooks. And this mirror's from my grandmother. After she died, I kind of took a lot of her artwork and decor items. Actually, this bar is also from my grandmother. It's an antique cabinet that's been refinished. So my mom has a matching desk in her house, so we have twin items. And then it's filled with bar books, Tom Dixon decanter, and all my poetry books. I don't know why, but I chose to lay them all on my bar cart. So when I had a roommate in this apartment, this is actually where the dining table was, which is really bad for this closet, which is where all of our bike storage is and all of our like outdoor gears. It's like the largest storage closet, and this needs access. So the goal was really just to open the space back up, and I want this furniture on display somewhere where it kind of makes sense. It's a larger piece of furniture and the apartment isn't enormous, so I felt that this was kind of enough to fill this little nook and create a moment here with a lot of items that actually have a history. None of these were kind of purchased for this space. We just put them together here and let them be really a bar area. Yeah. I did a bunch of drawings before my boyfriend moved in about how we wanted to lay everything out. So there was a moment in time where we were like, this is gonna be someone's desk because they're gonna need to work from home. And eventually, luckily, we both have a priority of aesthetics over utilitarian needs. So we decided that we were just gonna have a desk in our bedroom, and when my boyfriend works from home, he works from the dining room table. We just didn't want the space to feel cluttered. We really wanted it to feel like warm and cozy and a bit more styled, because we just didn't want there to be like a big open desk in the middle of our dining room. So it's totally fine. He basically keeps his laptop in the closet and brings it out every day. But that was his decision, I swear. I did not force him to do that. My boyfriend's favorite drink is a Negroni. I am very much a wine girl. I pretty much only drink wine. I love a red wine in particular, but these are actually the makings of my drink. If I have a drink, I do a Hendrick's Gin Dirty Martini. So I am as I get older, more and more of a homebody. I do spend a lot of time in this apartment. Being a student at Pratt, I do a lot of my work here. I have a little office area set up in my bedroom, and I really prefer to kind of work in the comfort of my own home. Although obviously sometimes I need to go use the studio space because it's just better to complete projects. But my boyfriend does also work here a few days a week. He's still kind of part-time in office, part-time at home. But this is very much a relaxation space. I cannot wait at the end of the day to like sit with a glass of wine in my living room and leaf through a magazine. That to me is the most calming moment in my day. We did set this apartment up to be able to have dinner parties. Like that was a focal point. I've always loved being able to share food, wine with friends and just have that be a main way that I socialize with my people. So actually where we're sitting right now, this is now the dining room, but it used to be the living room because that, which is now the living room, was a bedroom. So we kind of reoriented the space to allow for a larger entertaining area that we could actually use, bring friends into, sit, have charcuterie in the living room or what have you, and really be able to entertain, have friends over in the living spaces. So off of the bar area, we can move straight into the dining area, which is also our office flex space. But this dining area is really kind of the center. We actually sit and we eat dinner here every night. We kind of have that time where we put all our phones away and we just sit and we talk and kind of go over our day together. This has a lot of interesting pieces in it. The dining table is my grandmother's. All the dining chairs are new. Those are things that we purchased together. These are Saarinen knockoff chairs, and then these are Mario Bellini cab chairs, and all four of the chairs are from Lichen in Ridgewood. I love Lichen. I cannot say enough good things about them. So we did a mismatched chair assortment with the dining table. It wasn't necessarily planned that way. We more bought these two first because we had two other dining chairs and we needed four. But then we saw the Mario Bellini cab chairs on sale. They were at a very good price for the chairs. It's an item that has been like a wish list item of mine and something I always fantasize about getting. So honestly, it was a split decision. There was only two, and they both had the armchair. They were not just the dining chairs. And we called an Uber XL, bought them and brought them home. Like there's nothing beyond that other than I could not pass up having cab chairs in my house because I love them so much. And they're truly like vintage with the original tags and everything. They're really kind of worn, which I think is beautiful. The bookshelves are also from my grandmother. They were, when she was living in a nursing home, my mom got these from West Elm for her. I think West Elm still sells them, but I've just repurposed them for bookshelves in my apartment now today. The cactus is a boyfriend special. It's from Marnie. Marnie sells these like amazing plastic, I think it's a sculptures, but they also have chairs, side tables, what have you. It's very cool. And I guess when he was living in Greenwich Village, he was walking in meatpacking one day, saw it, and just couldn't resist. So now we have a cactus. These are all of my design books. I pillaged my dad's record collection, so I have all the records from him that I wanted, as well as some of my own that I've added to the collection. This is a friend of mine from summer camp, and she's an amazing photographer, so I have some of her artwork around. This is a sign. My grandmother was a fashion stylist, and so this was a fashion show that she put on, and that was the signage for the show. This is a poster that I got in Sevilla, Spain with my mom when I was 12 years old. This is from my grandmother. It's just Stuart Davis print, but I've always loved it. This is a Basquiat print that my boyfriend had printed on canvas, and then he framed it for himself, and that was the art he had in his first apartment in New York. This is a De Still clock. You can get them at the MoMA store. It was actually one of like the first pieces of wall decor I got myself when I moved into this apartment. I just wanted something funky and modern, and I'd always loved those clocks. I have no idea if it works. I should check about that. But here we have more. I love biographies and memoirs, so I recently read Anna Wintour and Grace Coddington's memoir. Those are my two most recent reads. Then when we turn over here, these are kind of interesting. There is a restaurant in Borum Hill, right where I grew up with my mom, that is no longer there. It is now Cafe Kitsune, which the neighborhood is really up in arms about, but it was building on Bond, and it was a great neighborhood restaurant, and they closed during COVID, and before Cafe Kitsune took over the space, they basically sold everything that was in the restaurant, and this is a painting from that restaurant, so my mom picked it up for me, and I love it. I love that there's water damage. I don't know, there's a lot of history to that piece, and it means a lot to me. And then this up here is actually a sketch I did in Rome. It's, I believe, an alleyway in Trastevere in Rome, but I studied abroad in Italy when I was in college, studying art history, so I had to keep kind of a drawing journal throughout that time. I have another cactus here. That was from a design event, and it's actually made with sound insulation. So because there's a running joke about our Marnie cactus, because my boyfriend likes to say that I don't like it, which is not entirely true. It's just I wouldn't have purchased it myself, but I still think it's really fun. I now get him cactus stuff whenever I find it as like a joke. So we have sound insulation cactus. And then over here we actually have another building on Bond special, which is my horse lamp. I painted her white. She's very silly. I don't know, it's just so kitschy, but I keep her around. She adds a little spice to the room. And then more books and my favorite view where we can see skyline. But when my boyfriend and I moved in, it was really, we could kind of make the space however we wanted it. We talked about, did we want a TV room? Like, did we want this still to be the living space? But we kept coming back to like, it is a New York apartment and it's so rare that you can have a dining room. And I had this dining table from my grandmother and it had kind of been like shoved in the corner for 2 years. And I really just wanted to make this feel like somewhere a family could sit and have a meal at the end of the day, because we are big, we cook a lot, and like we'll make pasta from scratch. Like, he's Italian, we're big eaters in this household. So we just love to like have friends over, or even just the two of us. Our parents have come over for dinner before. Like, we love to really cook a meal and share that meal and like have music playing, have the record player on. Like, my dining room growing up with my mom, there was huge built-in bookcases all around the dining area. So I love to be like surrounded by books and art, and that being kind of the place where you share and talk at the end of your day and have your meal. And so that really was like the priority of wanting a dining room. So that is why we made the second bedroom into our kind of living room area. And the space feels so much bigger, so much more opened up with it as a dining area. I feel very, very lucky in New York City to have that. So this apartment is a mix of design books and sci-fi books, but these are kind of these are all my coffee table books that are not on the table. Every Christmas, both my parents each give me 1 to 2 coffee table books, so I have an ever-growing collection. I also my most recent indulgence was I went to McNally Jackson and I found this book, Inside Milan. It's amazing. I love it. If you're interested in like very authentic, interesting, and personalized interiors, it has amazing images of apartments in Milan. I love Italian design, so that influence is very much present in my home, I think, at least within books that I have, kind of New York design books, Italian. I have a great Joe Ponti book over there. But my favorite book, probably of all, which I have been known to bring out at a dinner party, is Chair. And it is just a book of 500 famous chairs, and I love it so much. We have our de Still chair. Oh my God, what else? The classic Prague chair. It's just such a great encyclopedia of design. Chairs are such a fun way. They're like little functional sculptures. It's such an amazing opportunity for designers to create kind of a new way to hug the body and surround it. And I love chairs as like a design research and just understanding what has been done before. I like the Joe Colombo chair. Let's see, I'm sure you've seen this. They're just so iconic. Honestly, there's no other word to say. I love chairs. As I mentioned, I grew up in this apartment. This was the apartment I lived in with my dad, and it was originally a 1-bedroom apartment that he put a wall, the wall right behind me, through the living room to create a 2nd bedroom for me as a child, and then to make the dining area more of a flex living and dining space. So when I first moved into this apartment, I had a roommate who rented the 2nd bedroom, and then this was still our living area. And now that my boyfriend and I live here together, we've turned the 2nd bedroom into a living room. What was the living room is now what it was originally, which is a dining room. And then we live in the original bedroom of the apartment. This apartment looks very different than it did when I was a kid, but there actually have been very few changes. All I've done is painted it and replaced light fixtures. Like the kitchen is the kitchen my dad put in. It has the original parquet flooring. There's not much that's been done to this space, so a lot of the changes that were made were purely aesthetics to kind of make it my own. And even my dad says it looks completely different. So yeah, I've tried to make it my apartment very much, yeah. Welcome to my kitchen. This is the original IKEA kitchen that my dad put in. It's still around. I really haven't changed much other than putting in a light fixture. I like to call it my jungle kitchen. We did replace these are just laminate countertops, and so the countertop was broken before I moved in, and my dad was like, pick whatever laminate you want. So he just was putting in laminate, and I was like, well, if we're just doing a plastic countertop, let's go big or go home. So we went for the big jungle leaf pattern, which kind of drove. Then I put in a bamboo light fixture, kind of playing with these lighter wood elements, and then my fantasy is to put in my own stainless steel kitchen here, like a full stainless steel kitchen. I like to keep all my vases up here. I have another piece of artwork from a friend of mine, that's her photograph. And then this is from my grandmother. She had all of these like watercolor prints in her house. Even when my mom was growing up, I think my mom has a few of them, so I put that there. And then this, actually, when I moved in, my dad brought me. This was always in the kitchen when I was growing up here. I think that used to be over here. And so it's back in its rightful home. And then we also cannot ignore Ruth. We like to have her watching over us. And our little chair hook for our aprons. I spend a lot of time cooking in this kitchen. I just love like making meals. It's really my decompress, de-stress time of my day where I just like tune everything out and cook. So a lot of time is spent in this space. This kitchen is truly, it's just standard cabinets from IKEA. I think my dad bought this apartment in 2004, so he would have put them in around then. I think that IKEA still sells these cabinets, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if they make stainless steel anymore. All of these, the whole kitchen is just IKEA. It's every single cabinet is, and hardware is all from IKEA. I would like to put in a smaller island. I want to do stainless steel everywhere. I will upgrade the appliances. This is a tiny little range. Like you can't even put a full-size baking sheet in it. I think it's just 24 inches wide. So I will be getting a 30-inch wide range. And we have our little 18-inch dishwasher. Everything is tiny. Like this is the smallest sink that IKEA sells. I don't even think it's 18 inches wide. I think it's only 12 inches wide. It's very wet around here when dishes are done. There's a lot of wiping down that has to happen. But my fantasy is to redo this whole kitchen and then actually build out the hallway to enclose this column and put in a little coffee counter bar area that's an extension of the hallway and encloses the column so it's not as intrusive to the space. And then do a built-in banquette around the windows to kind of push the dining room open and allow for more circulation. And I'd tear that wall down. Just telling you all my plans. Both my parents, as I mentioned, are architects, and that very much influenced my career in design. I am finishing my MFA in interior design at Pratt right now, and this apartment has been a creative exercise outlet for me. I think my philosophy of design, of kind of using sentimental objects that have a personal history and a story, is very influenced from my mother and the apartment I grew up in with her, which was just lined with family furniture, Turkish rugs. It was always very warm. And most of the furniture I've used in this apartment, yes, I've acquired some things, and it's a mix of both my boyfriend and my furniture that we've had as young adults, but a lot of it is family heirlooms, including the artwork, and that has been a source of underlying kind of motif with how I take on a space. I want space to be personal and tell the story of your life. I like objects that have a history behind them, which maybe has to do with my undergraduate degree in art history as well. So that has been very much a focal point of this apartment, using objects that have both a family history and exploring my own aesthetic beyond the aesthetic that I learned from either of my parents. I would describe my style with a mix of both modern furniture pieces and vintage. I absolutely love mid-century modern design, particularly Italian design. I have a lot of Eames furniture in this apartment. I wanted also there to be a mix of more neutral elements as well as pops of color. I'm definitely not scared of color, and so I like to bring that in with kind of warmer wood tones, and having this room is kind of my most colorful space, which has a lot of colorful, fun, loud imagery with the artwork, and also like a Turkish rug underneath the dining table to really bring all the warm reds and blues and greens all together. So I would say kind of like vintage, modern, eclectic. I don't know if eclectic is the right way to describe my style, but I'm not scared to throw new and old together. I think that harmony can really happen when there is this kind of juxtaposition of style. I don't like a room to feel singular in its aesthetic. I like there to be a surprising element of a combination of two pieces that you wouldn't anticipate being placed next to one another, but when you see it together, it works and it creates a new point of view on those objects. Speaking of that wall, let me show you what's behind it. So this is our living area, seating room. We probably spend the most amount of time in here, actually. I love to just sit in here, and especially at the end of the day, and enjoy. It's our very calming, neutral space. So we have two vintage chairs facing the Mario Bellini love seat. This is a penguin chair, and it's from City Foundry in Industry City. And then this is an Eames dining chair, actually. It's an upholstered dining chair, but it's very comfortable. And I think it's from the Design Within Reach outlet. And then this glass and chrome coffee table is from Sujunk. They have a few locations in Brooklyn, but they have fun like home knickknacks and stuff. They're super, super nice. Highly recommend. And then this is a Noguchi lamp. This was actually a birthday present from my boyfriend because my first year of graduate school, I did a Noguchi project with school, and I did really fall in love with the lamps, and so he got one for my birthday, which was a very good present. Then these are kind of fun to call out because these are from, if anyone's ever been to the Poster Museum I think it's in Chelsea, they have like $7 really great like Art Deco posters or interesting posters. So you can just get them and frame them with like frames at Blick. So we have a few of those around the apartment. It was like a fun outing too. It was a date, we went to the Poster Museum, got some posters, and now we have some art in our home to remember it by. This painting in the center of the room is from my grandmother. It was over her bed, and I've just always loved it. It was so serene. I would probably say this kind of drove this room. This was the first thing I know I wanted in here, and it kind of is the center grounding element to the space. I love this coffee table. It's low. It's great for displaying coffee table books. That is from Lichen in Ridgewood as well. This is a Mario Bellini love seat. I love it so much. But it is small. This is a very small room, so we're pretty packed in. It's not really like you can lay out on a sectional, but nevertheless, still very comfortable. This is a Jonathan Robshaw stool. I have a matching one with my mom. We went up to Jonathan Robshaw in Connecticut and got a matching pair. I believe they're imported from, I don't know, he imports everything and has really great vintage, beautiful, like hand carved stuff, so highly recommend. This is my high school self-portrait. So that I think my mom had framed for me potentially when I graduated high school. And then I went to a school in Brooklyn that always had a craft fair for Christmas, and I bought that photo at it sometime in high school. I just was really drawn to it. I thought it was a beautiful way to show the reflection into windows, and windows are such a big part of our street life as New Yorkers. You kind of peer in and see the world that's within. So I just always loved that image. And then this is my magazine pillar. It has every Architectural Digest issue from 2015 to 2023 stacked in it. So, and then back here, behind, these are just IKEA curtains, very like simple way to soften a space. This is a vintage camera from an art class I once took. More books. I have a little sculpture from a sculpture class I took in college. This is potentially the most interesting thing back here, which is a site model from a class that I made. So this is what I do in graduate school. It was a brownstone project. So this is a site model from a project my second year of graduate school. The project was a residential project. It was a 4-story brownstone and a 3-car garage. And we essentially were given programs. We had to subdivide it into a multi-unit home. So that could be either like a communal living space, or what I actually decided to do is I used like Tetris pieces as my, I used the idea of subdividing it into different units. And I made 3 separate apartments for 3 different families within the house. So it's like Tetris pieces that lock together. And you can see the little stairs. This is my first unit, and then the second is a duplex that has a double height primary bedroom area down there. I didn't furnish this model. And then the top is a duplex as well, which is like for a young couple, it's more of like a lofted apartment with a skylight. Yeah. So that was a very fun project. I want to do residential architecture, so I had a lot of fun doing that one. So my boyfriend turned 30 last year, and so for his 30th birthday, I wanted to really get him something meaningful. And I made a poster on Photoshop. He is like a huge car guy, and he has his 10 top cars. And so I Photoshopped this poster with all of his 10 top favorite cars, and I had it framed for him for his 30th birthday. Then this is the wall of, I say this is like the family wall, because this is my drawing from graduate school. This is my dad's drawing from a recent trip to Italy that he took. And this is my mom's drawing when she was in graduate school that she did for one of her projects. So this is the family drawings. And then this is a wonderful artist who used to live in Brooklyn and now I think lives in Western Pennsylvania. He has a gallery, Peter Williams Gallery, and he sent me this painting. My mom has been good friends with him for a long time, and he's a great oil painter, and I just love that painting, so he gifted it to me, which is super nice. And that is all the artwork in the living room. So the rug in this space, I wanted just something like very neutral. Again, this was like very calming space. So this is just Zara Home. They have great, like, pretty cost-effective options. And then I'm constantly changing out all the books on the coffee table. Like I recently went to the Neue Gallery and finally got a Sheila book. I love Sheila. He's one of my favorite artists since I was in high school. I just find his like line work and expressiveness really evocative. And then these are super interesting. One of these actually has Diana Vreeland's apartment featured in it, but these are our AD magazines from the 1970s. I'm doing my thesis on how design literature has kind of promoted more homogeneous interiors and how homes are less personalized than they used to be. And so I got these as research for that thesis project. And it's really cool to see how magazines have shifted from the 19th century today, because I've gone kind of back to Edith Wharton, decorating a house, to today looking at like Cabana magazines and that whole canon of design literature for editorials. Edith Wharton wasn't editorials, but it was kind of the beginning of advising a woman of how to design her home. So I'm looking at all of that kind of advice literature of how to make your home the ideal space. And then over my Noguchi lamp, I have a photo of my mom and I. She was an actress when I was a kid, so I think these were headshots that she was taking, and they threw me in with her because I was just an infant. And it's one of my favorite photos of the two of us together, and I love having it in my home. Homes that have an honesty to the objects that are within them, like there are pieces of art I have up in this apartment that if I was in a store, I would never choose them, but it was my grandmother's, so it means something to me and I find a way to make it work in a room. I think obviously as I kind of evolve as a designer, I'll curate that eye more and more, but I think there should always be a level of, your home is not perfect. It should be a reflection of your life and always be kind of continually evolving and curated with you, and having objects that bring you a sense of happiness in it. It's not like this perfect white box that has the matching white boucle chairs and no soul. That maybe was too opinionated, but that is how I feel. From the living room, let me show you my bedroom. So we just walk through this, not very interesting, but showing how much storage I get in this apartment, which is great and very rare in New York. Hall of closets. And then we have the primary bedroom. This space is really where I like decompress. I'm one of those people that needs to stay in bed for a long time before I go to sleep. I spend a lot of time, I watch TV, I read. There are hours spent here at night. But this room is fun. It has like, this chair my mom found it on the street in Borum Hill for me. Someone literally put it out on the street, so I have acquired it and it's now my bedside table with my favorite little Werner Pantone light. And I kind of created a hard service to actually put drinks on through some coffee table books. But over it, I have this painting, which was my grandmother's. And then over the center of the bed actually is the New York Times spread of when Notre Dame caught on fire. So my mom gets the New York Times, she reads it every single day. And I remember when that happened. I guess I was home at that time. Was it? Because I was not living at home, it was after college. But I just remember looking at that photo and being like, that's the most amazing and yet heart-wrenching photo I've ever seen. So I actually took it with me, and for a long time I had it duct taped to my like rental apartment door when I was living in Philadelphia. And then for Christmas, my mom was like, can I take that for a second for some unknown reason, and she had it framed for me. So it is the actual New York Times piece of paper of Notre Dame's in ashes, but it's an amazing photo. And then like all of our bedding and rug is from the Annie Selke outlet in Great Barrington. We took a trip and we wanted some kind of like personality, more like cozy, comfortable covers, and kind of allowed these pillows to drive the color palette of the room, because these were actually college graduation presents from a neighbor of mine, and I love them. They're from Collier's Mansion I think they're on Atlantic Avenue, but they're beautiful pillows, and so they kind of dictated the rest of the space here. We have the classic cartel containers for bedside tables. Those are my boyfriend's. He's had them forever. They're like super useful. Anytime a friend of mine is moving into an apartment and they need bedside tables, I suggest these because they're like pretty affordable from Design Within Reach and actually usable. If you grow out of having them as your bedside table, they can be like a side table in a living room. They can evolve with you over time. I'm always like, I'd rather you spend money on something that you'll keep for a really long time than something you're just gonna throw out in 2 years. Then this is my desk. It is like a CB2 desk with a Design Within Reach outlet chair. These are 2 more posters from the Poster Museum. I have some of my like sketches and process work pinned up, and then like books I'm working on, some materials. Spend a lot of time here. I have my AutoCAD files up and we're like clicking away at floor plans. I'm teaching myself Rhino right now. I don't love 3D modeling, but I'm getting better at it. This is actually where I put my makeup on in the morning. And this mirror is a funny story because it was my grandmother's and it was always her vanity mirror. But originally, this is a fireplace cover, and she had a mirror put into it because she liked the like Art Nouveau detail of the fireplace cover so much. So it actually has like little leaves that slide in on the side as well. I just think that's like a hilarious story. Then we have more books because we have many books in this apartment. I have a little concept model. This is actually the concept for the other site model. These are the 3 apartments. So I was like showing the 3 different units, and then this is how they interlocked in the brownstone building. So like this was the brownstone, that was the street, and then this was the 3-car garage of the other site model. Design school really makes you kind of grow a lot as yourself as a person. I think in many ways, some of the most interesting things I've learned is to have patience with my own process. When you go into design school, I feel like there can be this notion that you're going to be taught the correct way to do something. But design, yes, there are the correct ways to make sure a building is standing and that the electrical is working correctly, and that, you know, you have to put a kitchen here because this is the existing plumbing, or if you have the budget, you can move it. And understanding the context of the architecture, but in many ways, design is so subjective. I mean, you can find someone who will hire you for almost any style, any type of design. And so I think there's almost this weird like mental switch that you have to make when you're in school, where you're realizing I'm not being taught how to have taste, because taste is a concept that doesn't really exist. I'm being taught how to find my taste and how to communicate that best, and how to learn how to create space that's livable and that serves the needs of a client or an occupant, or like what the agenda is with a space. So it's less about there being a right and a wrong way of doing things. I think that's sometimes why when I see interior designer content on social media, that I'm kind of like, ugh, I don't love that it's kind of like 5 things I would do in a house or 5 things I wouldn't, because it's such a simplified way of viewing design. Design is not yes and no's of how to put a space together. There are different ways you would handle problems in different locations. So I think being in school has really helped me like understand that part of what you're doing is not learning how to be good at XYZ. It's like learning how to be your own designer and how you want to think through solving problems. Is my little seating nook in the bedroom. This is actually like when I get ready on a weekend or something, my boyfriend will just like lounge here and we'll chat while I'm putting my makeup on over there. Probably the way it gets used the most. But this is a chaise lounge that a neighbor of mine gave my mom because it wasn't fitting in her house anymore. And then my mom had it reupholstered for me when I was in college because it was in like my high school bedroom. And at the time when she asked me, I really wanted like a toile. So that is what this pattern is. And my mom did like a pink toile with like a plaid piping, which I think is such a cool detail. But it also has a skirt and everything else. It just felt a little bit too antique with all the other things in this room, and the pink was really overwhelming. So I took the skirt off. So this is just like the muslin from reupholstering it with the reupholstered cushions. This is also, I think, a cushion from our very close neighbor who gave us the chaise lounge, and then a good little IKEA fur to warm it up with the cartel side table. That's the matching nightstand to the one over there. This is a bird cage from Building on Bond, which is now Cafe Kitsune in Borum Hill. They had a collection of antiques and bird cages, so I think my mom and I each have a bird cage. She has like one double this size. I don't know, I just love it. I think it's like funny. It's great. And then these two pieces of art are things that I had in my childhood bedroom and I've stayed with me. We see Dumbo, Brooklyn Bridge, presence of Brooklyn. And then this is actually my boyfriend's self-portrait. He'd had to do like a Chuck Close style self-portrait in high school. So we each have both of our high school self-portraits from art class hanging in the apartment, which I think is kind of fun. And that's this little area. This is a painting that my mom did in high school of flowers, and I've just always been so impressed by it. It was in my childhood bedroom, and now I still have it. And I think this is the original framing that she did for her mother after she made it. It's like a bamboo style frame, but it's definitely old. It's very sentimental. And then we have my mirror. I think this is from Urban Outfitters. It actually, when I arrived, the mirror fell out and I had to like re-screw everything in, and I'm very worried it's gonna break one day, but it is this just huge fun mirror that I've kept, and I can check my outfit before I leave every day. I think in many ways, I think of this room as being like the least design room in this house. It kind of was born out of the necessity of needing a desk in here, the fact that there's no other place for this chaise lounge to live in the apartment because it's an enormous piece of furniture to have in a New York City apartment. And I think also we had like just random gray sheets for a really long time. I just wanted there to be like life in the room. And so when I saw this carpet, my boyfriend and I really enjoy going up to Hudson in the winter. We usually go once a year and just go through like vintage stores. And last year when we went, we found an antique Persian rug. It was the most gorgeous rug I've ever seen, and it was incredibly expensive. I genuinely loved it so much though. I was like, oh, is there any way that I can just make this money up that I don't have? But when we took a trip to Great Barrington and stopped by Annie Selke, because we needed new bed linens, and I was like, let's go see what they have and get some. We found this rug, and it was like very inexpensive because it was an outlet store, and it reminded us of that because the antique Persian rug, it was, I mean, obviously true indigo, so it was just blue with the red stripe and the white stripes. So because of that, we both looked at each other and we were like, it's like the rug. And so honestly, we were like, we're just gonna make it work. We have to do this because it has this kind of like sentimental value. So it reminds us of the beautiful antique Persian rug that one day we will have. And that is kind of what drove the color palette, because then we got blue linens, which already went with like the blue pillows we already had. And part of the reason I took the skirt off this chaise lounge is because the fabric on the chaise lounge really didn't go with the rest of the room. So then I kind of allowed the pink that's going on over there to disguise itself more. And I'm letting the muslin just rock as it is. It's naked over there. So what home means to me is a place where you feel completely comforted and in your own safety bubble. Originally, homes were this source of shelter, and humans need that place to recharge. And so to kind of curate a space that really feels comforting and warm, especially as a young person in New York, it's hard to do that in rental apartments, in places where you're moving, where you live every year. It can be really hard to kind of feel that sense of, oh, I'm building a life for myself. I'm building a home and a space that is mine. And I think that I'm very focused on providing that sense of warmth and comfort that I felt as a child in the homes that I lived in, within my own space, but putting my own twist on it. And I think now I'm in a place in my life where, I'm with someone that I'm building a life with, and so this apartment is also a reflection of that relationship and of us wanting to build a life together. So home is this very intimate and comforting place where you cook and eat and enjoy time with friends and loved ones. And so have fun with it.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.